All right, Sam, bro, how are you?
I'm good, man. It's another day, another nickel, another election here in Detroit. We're obviously in Pontiac right now, but hey, here we are, man. It's a good day.
Here we are. Got to get to it.
Yes, sir.
So first question I have for you is, who are you?
My name is Sam Robinson. I'm a journalist, reporter. I'm the founder of Detroit 1 Million.
Perfect. So one of the first questions I wanted to actually hop into with you was, how important is your writing to your journalism work? So within the work that you do for Detroit 1 Million, you host forums, video interviews, things like that, but writing is kind of foundational to the way that you communicate with your audience. So how important is writing itself to your journalism work as a whole?
Yeah, so the written word is the central focus of my product, what I put out to the world. When we were in college learning about the journalism industry dying, we were told we would all have to eventually pivot to video. I was in college and taking journalism classes in 2015 and 16, and a lot of what was said was true. It is still a dying industry, a changing industry, but people are making it work. I'm trying to always make sure that the written word is sort of the forefront at what I do. I'll be, interviewing folks on camera or on Twitter Spaces and vertical video on TikTok and whatnot. And there's places for those mediums, but there's nothing like reading. And so I try to make sure I can give people that.
Mm-hmm. Keep it as like a cornerstone.
Yeah.
And
that's the best way to distribute facts also.
Yeah.
Making those, I give a lot of credit to the people that stick the phone in their face and talk for a minute into the vertical video. It takes me an hour to do that.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
Yeah. And so you're saying it's the best way for you to distribute facts or for the audience to receive the facts?
Well, I think both ways. I mean, when we're gathering facts for a story, an article, interviewing people for quotes, I think the best way messages are received is, you're reading it through somebody else. Obviously, a lot of people don't like to read anymore. I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're trying to and that makes sense to you, because with how important writing is to the way that you build your community.
Yeah.
Because you're trying to build you're talking to a certain type of audience, a certain type of consumer, one who is interested in the writing, interested in the facts, not just the clips and the videos.
Which again, there's nothing wrong with the clips and videos, and I really champion the folks that do that well, because I personally don't do it well. I've done it, and it can work for you, but there's just nothing like reporting, putting things in print. It's very powerful when you see facts in the written word. They say words are the greatest weapon. They never said a vertical video is the great weapon, but I've seen that to be pretty effective sometimes as well.
Yeah, the pen is mightier than the sword, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
So how did you find your voice in writing? I feel like that's very important also.
Yeah, that's a good question. 10 years of engaging with the audience on social media. I mean, I wouldn't have the success that I would have on Substack if not for the audience on Twitter. And I really appreciate those folks that have been there since I was covering women's basketball in Kalamazoo at Western Michigan. It's been a long time coming. How did I find my voice? I used it. You live long enough to see what resonates and what creates conversation. That's my big thing. I really want to create conversation. I want to do reporting, which happens typically in these sort of C-suite level executive class spaces, and bring it down to the people. We all live, what do they say? It's the same, we all got the same 24 hours. We all have the same access to information. And I think that's really important. I love being informed. I'm trying to help others be informed about what's happening around them, because even, you're not into politics, you're not into, reading the news, that's fine, but what did your grandma tell you? Politics is into you, buddy. So, we can't help that we're trapped in this American cog in the machine system. So yeah, I think it's a big need and necessity for us to start reading and get informed. How did I find my voice though? Going back to that is using it and not always, using it correctly and having to learn. Yeah.
That's like put perfectly. How do you find your voice? Use it, right? And so you're saying you kind of learn as you go along and go based off of the audience's feedback to find what you're really trying to say.
Yeah, and I mean, sometimes people won't resonate with what you're saying. Sometimes people don't like the facts that you're presenting. I've kind of learned over the years, again, because I have no agenda, I have no political home. I am a reporter, observer, like truly at my core. Like I'm a purist of doing journalism that is unbiased and unbought. So people don't like it all the time, you know what I'm saying? I have to be the bearer of bad news, which oftentimes involves people when you're doing local news, local politics. So yeah, doing it over and over and, and really having that feedback, which I appreciate everybody that over the years, that if you've ever engaged with the Sam Robinson tweet or article or whatever, you've seen my byline on, in a newspaper and you picked it up and read it. Thank you, because without you, there would be no Detroit 1 Million or me sitting here now. So thank you.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned Detroit 1 Million and how you've cultivated that audience over time. Can you talk a bit about what the mission or purpose of Detroit 1 Million is?
Yeah, so I started a website because I felt like young people's voices were being not included in news stories that they could be. Our perspective on these issues they exist. We have people that are under 30 years old within Michigan politics, Detroit local politics, Wayne County government. And so what are they thinking about these issues? The Detroit News and the Free Press and our legacy papers typically are talking the same 17 voices for all their stories. And that's not something, I've fallen into that too. I've relied on consistent voices across the state. But when you're talking about a generation of us in Michigan that have grown up in a state without a city with 1 million people, right? Detroit is the only city in America to ever have lost a full 1 million people. We used to have 1.8 million. We're at 650,000 now. That's growing. Leaders want to get us back to that point, to 1 million people. So that's why I call it Detroit 1 Million. And it's really about us, so about young people engaging in politics in this state, which, I think is really important to do. If you guys have not yet signed up, registered to vote in your respective municipal elections coming up this year, please do that. Elections should not be decided by 80% of the eligible voters not voting. And so, yeah, that's my purpose, is to get my generation informed on these issues, on what's happening in Lansing in the state legislature, what's happening in Detroit at city council, and within the ballot box coming up this year is an important mayoral election. We're going to elect the first new mayor since 2013. Mike Duggan has been the mayor for 12 years. He's not seeking re-election. He's going to run for governor. And what does that mean for us, right? We got a bunch of federal pandemic relief money a few years back. That's going to dry up soon. And so a lot of folks in Detroit are wondering what the next few years are going to look like. I'm trying to map that out for them and tell them what's going on.
Right.
Yeah.
And we've talked about Detroit 1 Million before, and a question that I never thought to ask is, what's the importance of having a city with 1 million people? Like, what does it a certain amount of like power that comes along with that politically, or could you talk about that a bit?
If y'all go open a globe and y'all look at the cities in the world, in the United States though especially, but if you look at the cities that have 1 million people, and then you look at the cities that don't have 1 million people, you don't want to be, or excuse me, the states that have cities with 1 million people. And you look at that in the United States, the states that don't have cities with 1 million people, you don't want to be a part of those states. That's usually the lower economies, usually the lower health outcomes, the worse off the student test scores are. Population, urban centers, populated urban centers, density is important for people's well-being and health. Obviously, folks that are our ancestors that lived in Detroit and Michigan a little bit earlier than we did can remember and recall when there were 1 million people in the city of Detroit. And I'm hard pressed to find anybody that won't tell me that it was a little bit better. It was a little bit more communal. It was a little bit more to do and more going on when there were 1 million people in the city of Detroit. A lot of people think I'm advocating for Detroit to get 1 million people again. It's going to take a lot of time to do that. But there are folks that think that it's possible. So that's my goal, is to just, capture what it looks like, the leaders who are trying to put 1 million people back here.
Makes sense. There's power in population.
There is, man. I mean, electoral power too. You talk about our electoral votes in the Electoral College during presidential elections. That's also an issue. We lose representation in Congress based on our population as well. So it's a big issue. And Michigan is of course losing population as a state. We've lost like 500,000 people yearly, in the last several years. You see these big companies leaving the state, whether it be the auto companies taking the manufacturing EV battery plants to Tennessee or Kentucky, or it's Kellogg's leaving the manufacturing hub in Battle Creek, Michigan. The state economy is changing, and it's going to be up to us to sort of chart out what it looks like going forward. So
great, makes sense. And so, do you have any last words to anyone that's aspiring to write, go into journalism or anything like that?
Just start. People DM me and they're like, "How do I start doing this?" Just start publishing your work somewhere. Shout out to all the people that I know that are doing journalism. It's hard, very hard. We don't get paid. That's not why we're trying to do this. I've been very fortunate to get paid. Thank you, all the people that are giving me $8 a month to read my product. Just start, man. Focus in on one thing and become an expert on it. Email people that you wouldn't expect to answer your emails. When you're in the rooms with the people, have the goal to go up and say, "Hey, I'm a journalist. Can I ask you a question?" And record their question. Always be a journalist. That's one thing that I don't have to even think about. It's second nature to me. This is just who I am, right? I like learning about people. I like learning about circumstance and how I got to where I am right now, right? I think everybody should aspire to be an expert in something. And so everybody can really be a journalist. Do a Google without the AI. Do a Google and see where it takes you. But yeah, if you want to start writing, just start interviewing people. I shout out to all the people doing the street interviews out and about. I like that. I think everything is journalism. But yeah, if you're trying to do political journalism, start talking to politicians. I got into it real early out of college because of a man named Mickey Shakailo. He was the editor of Kalamazoo Gazette. If not for Mickey Shakailo, I wouldn't be sitting here today. He took a chance on me. I had never really done real big city government work. And he was like, "Here you go. Here's how you do it. You get into it." And I started, and it's the best thing that I've ever done. Covering city council, showing up to the Board of State Canvassers meeting, or showing up to a JCAR, reading court documents, knowing how to obtain court documents on Pacer, knowing how to obtain campaign finance records on your local, whether it be the state or whatever your local county's campaign finance database that they use, right? Learn the steps, learn how people gather facts, and you'll never run out of things to look up. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Immerse yourself.
Yeah, man. That's what I try to do every day.
Yeah. That was beautiful. So we'll end it there. I appreciate
Awesome,
you,
man.
Sam.
Yeah, I appreciate you, John,
Thank
man.
you.